At the end of last month, a new South African super team was announced, spearheaded by the legend blackpoisoN. He's joined by ADM, Kani, Triton, and uDeadshot, and they're going to be representing the organization Nixa, which is the new org I hadn't heard of before, but they have announced their integration into the South African CSGO scene with a bang. I was going to make a video talking about all the changes in the South African CSGO scene, but some changes have taken longer than others to be announced. So here are my thoughts on this new Nixa organization. So I use the term super team to describe them, which I think is fairly apt, right, when you look at the names on paper coming into the squad. Now, what is a super team? A super team is a team where you can interchangeably swap out any of the players for the star player role, right? Like all 5 of these guys are capable of being the star player or the star fragger for their team, right? They all have insane mechanical abilities and individual capabilities. They all have great raw skills and abilities. So yeah, when it comes to the individual playing and their fragging power and their capabilities in that regard, this squad is absolutely sick and second to none in the country. That's certainly not where they're going to have any problems if there are going to be issues with the team. Normally, the issues stem from whether people are comfortable or not in the team, right? Whether there's enough space for everybody to play their natural game of being that, star player, their natural game that makes them such a strong individual. Is there going to be room for everybody to play their natural game is the question in this team. And we're going to be finding out, right, whether they can make that balance work. But let's break things down. So looking at the team, mentioned the names, spearheaded by blackpoisoN, is such a crazy name to have at the helm of the project. We obviously haven't seen him involved in the South African scene for a very long time. The last time he played in the South African CSGO scene was back at the end of 2018 when he was representing Energy. He then obviously went to America. He played in Denial and then ATK a little bit there. Obviously, things never really worked out according to plan. He came back to South Africa, and we never really saw much out of blackpoisoN up until now, right? Like there was that short chapter where he played with Lionheart, but I wouldn't really consider that like, long enough or official enough to, consider that as an official chapter in his playing career. So outside of the Energy team in 2018, yeah, we haven't seen anything from blackpoisoN locally in terms of competing, right? So it's super exciting to have him reintegrated and rejoining the South African scene again, joining up with some of his really good friends in Kani and ADM. And then, now he's going to be nurturing some of the future talent as well in Triton and uDeadshot. Speed tracking their career, essentially, taking them to the next level, refining their skills. And I think it's a great balance that they've established in this team, through bringing new players into the squad and having these established players as well. When blackpoisoN announced that he wanted to play South African, or play in the South African Counter-Strike scene again, he probably had the freedom of choice, right, in terms of where he wanted to go or which team he wanted to play with or who he wanted to play with. He probably got to pick and choose, and that's just by the nature of the person that he is. That's what he's built himself up to over the years. Everybody wants to play with blackpoisoN, and he's earned that right and created that value, right? One of the most decorated players in the South African CSGO history. So when he announced he came back, I'm sure a lot of people got excited. Maybe people reached out to him. I know Orgs definitely did. But I'm sure Kani was the first person that he spoke to and had conversations with, just because Kani was a free agent and they both have a lot of history with each other. They go back a long way, good friends. They've played in teams. They've had a lot of success together. They've gone overseas together. So I'm sure him and Kani were the first 2 people to talk to one another. And I wasn't at all surprised to see Adam involved in the conversation and in the team as well. blackpoisoN and Adam go back a long, long way. Obviously, they both, I would say it's a bit of like a protege relationship there that blackpoisoN has with Adam. I'd say Adam learned a hell of a lot from blackpoisoN. Probably one of the large reasons Adam is the player that he is and has the philosophies that he does about Counter-Strike is largely thanks to blackpoisoN and his input that he's had on Adam. So I think that it was no surprise to see Adam also playing alongside blackpoisoN. It almost felt like that's something that was poetic, right? Like it had to happen somewhere along the line. And I think Adam maybe a bit starstruck, right? Like from he's always been like the experienced guy at the top of the team, and now he's playing with Black Poison, and I'm sure he's super keen about that. And then obviously, as I've already mentioned, they've got the balance with Triton and Deadshot, right? Like two up and coming uncut diamonds. They've got insane raw capabilities and skill, but it's just about elevating their careers to the next level and making sure that the skills that they've got and their skill set that they retain is capable of, being applicable at the higher levels of Counter Strike as well. It's all good being able to click heads, but if you're not able to do it, at the higher levels and compete and continue to grow and develop, then it doesn't really mean that much, right? We've seen a lot of players come and go with raw ability, raw capabilities, or raw skill, but Black Poison can now allow them to really tap into that skill, right? So yeah, it's great to have Black Poison sort of reintegrate into the scene for that regard, playing with some of his friends and people he's very familiar with in Adam and Kani, and now he's going to be bringing obviously two players he's never really played with, but would have been watching from a distance into the team as well. I'm almost convinced that Black Poison is a genius. If you think about the fact that he stepped back from competitive Counter Strike at the end of 2019, which is almost when the pandemic began at the beginning of 2020. And he hasn't had anything to do with this online era of Counter Strike, which is always going to be the era that's got a little asterisk next to its name, right? Like you're kind of going to look at the online era of Counter Strike and and always say like, yeah, well, it's a pity that we never got to compete on LAN, which is the very fabric and authenticity of competitive esports and Counter Strike. So Black Poison gets to skip out on the whole boring online era of Counter Strike, and now he comes back at the perfect time. 2022, baby. We got lands that are being re-announced. We've got international qualifiers that are going to be taking place as well. So, perfect time to be coming back into the South African scene when the opportunities are starting to actually crop up again. So yeah, that was a stroke of brilliance or a stroke of mastery coming through from Black Poison. So that's sort of the individuals of the team, the composition of the team. Let's talk about the roles in the team itself, right? And how the balance is going to be distributed. So Adam is going to be the IGL of the squad, which I'm actually a really big fan of. He's obviously been the IGL of Goliath Gaming for a very long time now. Probably only when Elusive was in the squad, he wouldn't have been actually doing the calling for that period. But Adam is a really strong caller. He's got a really good read on the game. I think he works well with individuals, gets their strength, plays to the strengths of the players in his team as well, become a team player. And, he's focused on winning and doing what it takes to win instead of um, finding individual success, which is obviously a really important hallmark of a good captain. So I think Adam has grown and developed into a very strong IGL, one of the best South Africa's ever seen, the best in South Africa at the moment, I would say. Obviously, JT being abroad, you can't really involve him in the conversation. But Adam he's grown his skill set over a long time and added a lot to his repertoire as well. So I'm glad to see that he's maintained his position of IGL. It almost feels like the past 2 years have been growing up to this point for him, or building up to this moment, perhaps. And I think he's the best choice in the team for the IGL role. The one thing I will say is that he's also going to be the AWPer in the team, and we've seen a lot of players have shifted away from taking the mantle of the AWP and the IGL role. I think Cadian's the only player who comes to mind in terms of tier 1 international Counter-Strike who's still taking on that role, because it's such a massive responsibility. There's so much to keep in mind. There's so much that you need to be contributing to the team as well, that it can be very difficult to accomplish that role successfully. Adam's been doing it for a while now. Was he doing it because he was the best player for the role, and there was no one else who could do it better? Or was he doing it because that is how he gets the best out of himself and the team? I think those are two different questions to ask on Goliath Gaming. Was there potentially a better AWP? There wasn't, right? Here in this team, is there potentially a better AWP? I mean, you got both Kani and Black Poison, who are both super capable AWPers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe saw that change somewhere down the line, and that Adam maybe shifted the mantle of the main AWP to somebody else in the team and kept the role of IGL. We'll see how that ends up playing out. It's going to be quite fascinating, quite interesting to see how it develops going forward. But that's just the one thing that I wanted to talk about. As I said, Adam and Black Poison got a super good understanding and a very good as I said, shared philosophies. So good chemistry in terms of how they want to play the game, how they think the game should be approached, the protocols and the decision making. So there'll be great cohesion there and chemistry in that regard between the two of them, which is going to be fantastic. blackpoisoN as the second voice in the team, he's going to be able to play his own natural game, and be the star player in the team in that sort of like extremity role where he's going to be lurking or playing by himself, not afraid to read the situation, capitalize, on the moment, take initiative, relay information to his team, get to make calls as well because of all the information that he's getting in that role. But I think he's a fantastic second voice in the team for blackpoisoN because he's got that star player capability. So first of all, you want him focused on his own game more than calling and making sure that the team knows what's supposed to be done in each and every round, but focused on his very own missions and strategies and operations. And then also because I think that blackpoisoN is a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to playing Counter-Strike, and I think he's got a very particular vision of what needs to be done and how they need to accomplish their goals to go about winning the game. And if something doesn't really go according to plan, I think he can get a little bit frustrated just because he's got this golden plan laid out in his mind, and and if it doesn't get realized, then yeah, like I said, maybe it gets to him a little bit and then that can affect his game. So I think it's great to have him as a second voice where he's constantly contributing his huge amounts of experience and all the information that he's gaining to, benefit the team in terms of how they're going to approach the half or the team that they're playing against. And I think it's good that he's not going to be the man who's tasked with the responsibility of, completely controlling and making all the ultimate decisions for the team. So I think that that's definitely going to be taking some weight off his shoulders and letting him focus on his game, and he'll be a beast in that fragging department as well. Um, playing that lurk role, getting to create space, getting that information, getting to play his own game, I think are all going to be allowing him to be the best version of himself in this team. You've got Kani, who's going to sort of be on the opposite side of the map. You're going to be able to trust him to not make any bad decisions, which leaves the team in worse off positions. He's going to be the player who's also capitalizing on the space that's being made. If you've got, three players in the middle, Kani's going to be trying to find gaps or create gaps, take, heat off of his teammates. And makes sense having Kani in a role like that because he's got such a vast amount of experience, knows how to read the situations, and he knows how to adapt to them as well and capitalize on them, seizing opportunities. So yeah, absolutely. Think that's a great position for Kani. He's also a great person that they can turn to, and he can contribute in terms of the decision-making process if things aren't going great, or even if they are, and he has a read. It'll be great to rely on him in that regard as well. Um, and then you've got the two players, Triton and Deadshot, who are going to be forming part of the fragging pack, right? Like these are just going to be the unchained, unhinged point men who are being set up, relying on their strengths, which is their mad fragging ability, and they are going to be these individuals who can just go beast mode essentially, right? And take over the server. And they're going to be on the front lines making these plays, which is going to be very exciting to watch. Explosively natured individuals, right? Um, I think it's awesome that both Triton and Deadshot are in this team together. I mean, this is a point I actually wanted to make when I was talking about the dynamic of the team. I think it's going to be giving them both a lot of familiarity and comfortability, more confidence playing alongside each other instead of just the one of them in this team and then another established South African CSGO player in the team as well. I think it's, going to be a lot better for both of them to be there as a duo, being able to play off of one another, motivate each other, inspire each other. And I think it's going to be allowing for the team to get the best out of both of them as well. So yeah, I'm very excited to see the dynamic of Triton and Deadshot in this team, coupled with the experience, the veterans, Adam, Kani, and blackpoisoN. I think there is a lot that entices us about this team and a lot to get excited about for sure. Um, there are, as I said, the LAN events coming up with the ESL Rotterdam events, so that's something that they're going to be keeping their eyes firmly fixated on. And you got Comic-Con as well towards the end of this year, so enough time for them to really build their identity, build their foundation, build their platform, and then from there realize their potential. Thing is, though, in 2019, if this roster had been formed and Deadshot and Triton are capable of what they are now back then, let's say they are those players now, what they are then, this team would have easily just been the best. They would have just stomped the ground with everybody. And any year before this as well, like if you built a team of this stature with these players, a super team of this nature before, in South Africa, you just win. It's like, okay, now we're playing for second best for the rest of the teams, but it's not quite like that anymore. Like the things have changed, right? Um, and it's going to be interesting to see because now you've got the likes of a lot of other super capable teams with very strong individuals who are also going to be vying for those international qualifiers and for those LAN events, and they've got very strong individuals with a lot of drive and desire. So it's not like clear cut that this team is going to be the best in the country and that they are going to be dominating all the events and everyone else is going to play for second best. I think there's going to be a lot of exciting games between the top 3 or 4 in the country. It's going to be difficult to differentiate between them going into events, at least initially. And I think that there's going to be a lot of super entertaining games with these teams fighting back and forth. So I think we're in for a stellar year of Counter-Strike in South Africa. I couldn't be more keen with the LAN events on the horizon as well to just really up the ante. And I think we've got some sick stuff coming up. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Nixa outfits. Let's see what they've got in store for us.